change, even with Anderson and Broad. See how it pans out today.
Well, I think he just needs to bide a little bit of time and he'll be getting the new ball.
It won't be long. No,
totally.
it won't be long. It might be Anderson's.
It's like his
last
it's like
series.
apprenticeship, isn't it? You know.
Archibald's again fuller and outside the off stump, and Hamza is not tempted into playing a shot.
Hamza seems to kind of take a step to leg, doesn't he? Are you watching this? I mean, his back
trigger
foot's-
movement.
His trigger movement, instead of like most people, is back and across. He seems to be back
And not across.
and not back and outside leg. Like
I'm
scared-
running away to the to
Exactly.
the square leg umpire.
playing inside the ball all the time.
Yeah, well, he's played a couple of Test matches before this, and sometimes when people come into Test cricket, you think that's a bit of an odd technique, and we've said it about England players over the years. Let's have a close look at him as he
Ooh.
ducks underneath a bouncer. He didn't back away. It was a short ball, went well over his head, and Butler takes.
And of course, that can lead to some short-term success before bowlers figure you out.
Yeah, well,
Gary
it's-
Balance
it's-
being
it's
a
a
prime example.
Constant battle, isn't it? Batsmen are tweaking their games all the time. You know, sometimes actually not even noticing that they're doing things differently, and you know, you have to watch video of yourself, compare videos of 1 year to the next to see what the difference is. This is what batting coaches are supposed to do.
Well, the most well-known example would be Steve Smith, who no one's figured out yet.
As this is well down the leg side by Archer, probably tempting the umpire to signal it wide, but he doesn't. Yeah, well, Steve Smith, I just have everybody bowling round the wicket, leg stump Yorkers at him the whole time, and packing the
Leg side field.
the leg side field.
No one ever does that, do they? I mean,
Well, you can't do it in an ODI. You can do it in tests, yeah.
You
yeah,
can do
but
it
I mean,
in
even in
Test, yeah.
Test match, I mean, you see, I was thinking about this the other night. In Test matches, you always see that point where they'll bowl dry way outside the off stump and pack the offside field, 7-2 offside field. But you hardly ever see a 7-2 leg side field banging it in a leg stump, as you say.
This is a
Nice shot.
ball is turned quite nicely through square leg. There's nobody out there. He timed it pretty well, did Hamza, and it runs away to the boundary.
2 + 2 is a man.
But, you know,
Well-
to Smith, if you had a sort of a fine leg and a backward square
This
leg,
is
and you
what I
had
was
a
gonna say, you
bloke
can only
just in
have-
front of square
You can
on
only have
the
two
boundary
behinds.
and a deep mid wicket, you know, you can.
You could dry him up.
Yeah, you
That's
can.
why
There'll be a lot of singles and not much
Well,
else.
at the start, I just think he'll take a run of ball with no risk at all day.
Well, no, I don't. Well,
Yeah. You know, remember he's going to have to change his game a little bit because he does walk way across. So
Well, he just wouldn't walk across as much, I would think.
you
I-
know,
to be
well,
fair, I haven't
you're
really
making changes. His
Yes, okay. We haven't really seen anybody bowl right arm round to him, to my knowledge.
and very very full. That's what I'm saying. Just try and bowl leg stump Yorkers at him, ball after ball. See
Yeah.
what happens. As Curran to start a new over wide of off stump, and Faf, who has the patience perhaps that some of these other South African batsmen don't, is happy to leave that one.
Do you think when Curran's like 34, he's still going to look 12 years old?
Man, my God. My name's Hatem Matar. I'm the world's first Arab pitmaster. I grew up in Dubai, been here almost more than 20 years. We're at the Matar Farm residence, which was the idea long before there was a Matar Farm brand.
Ooh, somebody could use one of those aging apps on his photo and send it to us and see what he's going to look like. It's going to be scary, whatever it is. This is, of course, a World Test Championship game after the games in New Zealand weren't for some reason. And it's a 4-test series, so they've taken it off the screen. A shorter ball from Curran, which du Plessis turns to square leg, and Bairstow running in like a small child.
240 points up for grabs.
240 points up for grabs in every series, and you divide it
that's-
by the
that's-
number.
No, some.
That's
oh,
not
yes.
how it works.
No,
is it?
120 points available every series,
Yeah,
and you divide
exactly.
it by the number of Test
Yeah.
matches.
Oh, right. Okay. Sorry, I was
Yeah.
just looking at the top line now. Okay, so yeah. See, that's fucking. I'm not sure I like this, isn't it? And you're better off having 2 Test series and try and go for the win. You get 60 points.
Well, and everybody's not playing everybody. A good ball from Curran, which shapes back into du Plessis and gets a little bit more bounce than you expect. It came off the shoulder of the bat into the ground, and towards Burns at the Squarer Gully. No run.
Armchair Cricket Podcast says Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and to you, sir. Mog says, an indication of just how little a life I actually have. I've completed all the jingles for the T20 World Cup qualifiers except Zhivago Grunwald. Well, you can't do a Dr. Zhivago for us?
What's the theme tune to Dr. Zhivago?
It's quite famous, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, another good ball from Curran. He's a really cracking bowler. We've always said.
We've always said
That
so.
shapes back into Faf, who's again hurried, which is not something you say very often when Curran is bowling. And it plays into the leg side. No run.
It's just isotonic something or other.
No, it's just
basically,
yeah.
It's an Amazon warehouse pea bottle by the look of it. And someone's been drinking a lot of beer.
You've gone through Matalan, Amazon. Any other big names you want to have a go at today, Andy?
No, them
all of them.
John Lewis isn't open today.
John Lewis is not open today.
No,
good for
They'll
them.
be bankrupt next year. Full ball, and Duplessis does get down on. Was it a Yorker or was it a half volley? But he plays it to mid wicket. Again, Curran seems to be bowling a little bit quicker than we've seen him.
Well, he was born in
He's
South
generally
Africa.
slow.
He's bowling full. He's giving himself a chance at swing.
Yes,
I like this wicket, I've got to say.
from a bowling point of view.
For a bowling point, it's
Yeah.
quite entertaining for a change.
Faf has gloves which are half white and half pink, and the top half of his bat is pink as well, or sort of fuchsia, I think you'd call it, as Curran is in again. And that one does not come back into him, goes past the outside edge, and Duplessis is having a bit of a test from Curran. The end of the over, it's 36 for 2. Some more tweets.
Yeah, I do think South Africa's green numbers on the back of the shirt are not in a very attractive shade. Evil Scooter says, hello and compliments of the season all. Joining you for 10 overs before I switch back to your southern colleagues. Well, don't let us keep you too long. How are we this morning? It is, of course, are we in direct competition with Gorilla South Africa?
Complimentary.
You get both sides of the coin.
Complimentary.
Yes, with an
not
E.
complimentary.
No, we're not complimentary about them. No. 36 for 2, 12 overs have gone, and England, having put South Africa in with an all-seam attack, we'll be quite happy. with
Get
that,
another
I would have
wicket.
thought. Get another wicket.
Yeah, very
in
happy, I'd have thought, yeah.
You can get past Quinton de Kock shortly after lunch, maybe, even
And get
before lunch.
him
I mean,
in while the ball's still moving around.
exactly, he's only got to get 2 more wickets and he's in.
And did we have confirmation that the ball is a kookaburra as Archer starts a new over, and this is dropped into the leg side by Hamza, who looks quite keen to get off the strike, and they take a sharp single, and
Broad, a little bit slow off the mark there. Comrade
37 for 2.
Bernski, good morning, Gorillas, and Felix the Navy's dad to all. I have to say, living in the US, I much preferred the Antipodean time zone for cricket, especially on Boxing Day.
Yeah, I guess it's early in the morning for you, isn't it?
depends where you are, of course. And, big country.
In Australia, Evil Scooter says, you won't believe this, but James Vince has just thrown a promising start away for 22.
Oh, there's a surprise.
Who's he playing for? It's
Big Bash, isn't it?
That Bash. Are you be all over that, Andy? You
no,
like that kind of thing?
I think the Big Bash is losing its lustre.
Right.
The 100's going to defeat it.
This is well wide of the off stump. Archer dragged this, didn't quite have his optimum bowling position there, and dragged it well down the offside.
Well, according to Wikipedia, there are 3 main manufacturers of cricket balls in international matches: Kookaburra, Dukes and SG.
Yes.
Manufacture of the red or pink balls used for tests varies depending on location. India uses SG, England, Ireland and the West Indies use Dukes, and all other countries use Kookaburra.
Right.
So I'm not sure that's entirely true, but
well, it's the internet, so it must be.
Wikipedia.
As Archer bowls full, in fact a full toss, and prodded at by Duplessis, finds a gap in the offside
gets himself at the ball.
and gets himself a couple of runs as Sibley chases that out towards the cover boundary. 2-2 Duplessis.
Not
and he's
very
off the mark, as you say.
athletically, I would say. I thought that was Denley lumbering after that.
Oh, that's not really nice thing to say.
And Sibley is not 34 years old.
And Sibley's a big unit though.
He looks it, yeah.
Well, he's not in the team for his
I
fielding.
have to say I'm with I'm a bit with Hendo on Sibley. He doesn't look like a test batsman to me. I've only seen him in 2 tests, but
Archer ball towards short leg. Bairstow dives away to his right. I don't think it carried. He's not very close at short leg, but I don't think it got to him.
it's a no
It was
ball.
a big no ball.
Was
yeah.
it a big no ball?
Yeah, I think so.
It was off the glove, and it was wide of him, and it bounced about a yard
So
short.
they would. So if he'd caught that, they would have checked the no ball.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who are the umpires in this game?
I can find all these things out.
Well, Knackle's not here. He's not running in and telling us who the umpires are.
We have no notes.
Get a tweet in a second.
And their wives' birthdays.
I can go to the match and it will tell me.
Dr. Jonathan Lowe tells us John Lewis has never ever been open on Boxing Day.
No.
Right. Next ball's
Strike.
wide of the off stump and left by Duplessis. We're going to have a change shortly.
The umpires are Chris Gaffney
Chris Gaffney.
and Paul Rifle.
Okay. So Antipodean umpires.
TV umpire is Kumar Dharmasena
Oh, God.
and Adrian Holdstock.
Is he following
He's a
England
reserve
around?
umpire.
It's always Kumar Dharmasena.
Yeah.
Why do we keep getting him?
I don't know. Andy Pycroft is the match referee. There
Good
you go.
old Andy Pycroft, the Zimbabwean. As Archer in to finish this over. As well, again, Duplessis doesn't move his feet at all.
That was
puts
quick.
the bat out towards it, and it dribbles its way to mid on the end of Archer's over 39-4-2.
His foot went straight down the track there.
And we're going to have some drinks break.
Oh,
We're
we are
gonna-
going to have to get some tweets in then. Messages
Yeah.
from Crick Tracker, all sorts of shit.
Yeah, I'll do that in a second. Ravi has given us a Dr. Zhivago jingle. Somewhere Grunwald there will be games to play, although we won't be here on the final day. Does that?
If we knew
Unfortunately,
the,
I
if we
don't
knew
know
the
the
song,
tune.
that would
Yeah.
really help. Yeah,
Yes, let's have a look on Crick Tracker. Malcolm West. Oh, Merry Christmas, not Fred. Did you do that one?
yeah.
And Paul Scrace says, Matt and Paul watching in Marul Bank, Victoria, Australia. Fantastic. Good to have you with us.
Yeah,
Lovely, lovely.
Australia had a pretty slow day, having been put in by New Zealand, but in a decent position, it's fair to say.
Yeah, only lost 4 wickets all day, didn't they?
Yeah, and Melbourne has been pretty slow and dead in recent years.
Well,
Although it looked a bit,
it looked
more
a bit better
more
yesterday,
life,
didn't
yeah.
it? I mean, I briefly watched about 5 overs at about 1 o'clock in the morning. The ball seemed to be moving a little bit in the air. It seemed to be a little bit off the pitch. It's a quite grassy pitch. Didn't look particularly pacey, but
Yeah, interesting decision to put Australia in.
Are there any other test matches going on?
Just the two at the minute.
Normally the 3 or 4 at Christmas, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Right.
India don't have any test matches at the moment, do they?
No, they just come
They
off
just
a
come off a
one-day series with the
one-
West Indies,
yeah.
which they do about 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Who else? Well, there's nobody else. Not Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan.
Is it Bangladesh are refusing to go to Pakistan to play the test matches, even though they'll go there and play T20s? And I heard that what's his name, Misbah was pretty upset with them, quite forthright, which I have to agree with. If you're prepared to, I mean, who's just been there for a test series? 2 test series was played between Sri Lanka, who were the people who got the wrath of the reason that it was all called off in Pakistan, the terrorist attack that happened on them.
Yeah.
They've gone back there, played 2 tests, no trouble at all. I imagine the security is absolutely spot on.
Well, they're
and
at
totally
so it can't be
OTT.
that good.
And Bangladesh are quite happy to go and play T20s, but not a test match. It seems a bit off to me, to be honest.
There's a lot going on to do with scheduling, which seems a bit
Well,
odd.
it's all kind of people trying to squeeze more and more.
Well, no, Bangladesh said they're quite happy to play tests, but they want them in a neutral location, which seems...
Right, have we heard any reason for that? Or,
Well, no, presumably they,
Bangladesh and Pakistan
security
were
reasons.
formerly the same country, of course.
Well, exactly.
For their civil war in
Doesn't always
1971.
exactly ensure good relations. Quite the opposite, in fact. Arthur Patricia, stop Sam Robsoning Dom Sibley out of the side just because you find him aesthetically displeasing. That's what.
Well, no, I mean Rory
I
Burns
think
was
talking
aesthetically
more to
displeasing,
me.
Yeah.
but he seems to have a technique that works for him. It remains to be seen. We've only seen a couple of test matches.
And there was that.
From
We've
Sydney.
had loads of batsmen who got kind of
Oh,
aesthetically
yeah.
Well,
displeasing.
like
I mean,
Sam
who was the
Robson.
right-handed guy we had in the other summer? Who was from Essex? Was it Essex?
Yeah,
Tom
Wesley,
Wesley.
yep.
He was
Yeah.
aesthetically displeasing, and he turned out to be not quite cut out for Test match cricket either. But
he's better than Denley.
well,
So is everybody.
I am to disagree with you, Denny. I think
Drummond,
Denny actually has got quite a good
Crawley.
technique. He gets across, gets his eye over the ball. Certainly better than I'd say Sibley or Tom Wesley. He's got shots all around the ground. He does seem to be growing into the role. And Adam Voges came into the Australian Test side at 8.36 and had an average of nearly 100 for a couple
well,
of years.
he's
didn't he?
averaging 30, so it
Well,
doesn't
yeah,
always
but-
work, does it?
As Hendo says, he's getting better. He's scoring more runs, seems more settled.
Anyway,
Yeah, by the time
after
he's
that
30,
extended drink
by
break,
the time he's 36, he'll be ready for Test cricket. Yeah.
Curran will be bowling. And he's up to the wicket and bowls, and it's on the hip of Hamza. It's turned down to fine leg. Archer eventually comes around to field, they take a single.
I'm not sure even Curran knows how much and if it's going to swing, which is good in one way, because the batsman doesn't know if he's going to keep going past the bat or swing into him. But then again, it's just his lines. He almost bowled that one as if he was expecting it to go across, and then it swung in a little bit onto leg stump.
Well, maybe. I think you may be a little bit harsh there. I think the dangerous ball he has is the one that doesn't swing when people expect it to, and
Yes.
it's going away to, the chance of an edge towards the keeper and the slips. As he's up to the wicket and bowls again, that one does go across du Plessis, and he leaves. It's a similar line to sort of an off spinner bowling round the wicket. If it turns, it's going to attack the stumps. If it doesn't, it's going to
Or the left arm spinner,
go past the outside edge, or preferably take the outside edge. But I think you're being a bit unfair that he doesn't know. I mean, even Jimmy sometimes he doesn't know how much it's going to swing.
Yeah, that was possibly a poor choice of words. He's not sure at the moment exactly how one's going to swing and one's not.
As Curran bowls again, this does shape into du Plessis, who gets everything behind it and defends it back down the wicket.
We should say the GPL is open, and you have about an hour to go, so I'm not surprised none of you entered, but the pot is 53 quid, and that can all be yours if you enter, and of course it goes up the more of you enter.
You can spend it in the January sales.
Absolutely.
When you win it, which start in sort of early December
Minus
nowadays.
4 hours ago, yes.
Well, they were smart enough not to have them for the 2 or 3 days leading up to Christmas Day for a change.
They're so clever, aren't they?
Cynical.
Curran bowls a short ball, which goes over the head of du Plessis, and it's called a wide by Paul Rifle. That was very short.
In a test match?
I don't know, over the head is a wide now, isn't it? Even in tests? I don't honestly know.
Well,
It's a good 3
he-
foot, 2 foot over his head if he's
Well, he ducked,
he
but
did duck a bit, but yeah.
we don't know where
Good
it would have
take
gone
by
past
Butler.
his. Yeah, it was a good take, actually. Yes, Curran's an excellent bowler and Butler's an excellent wicketkeeper. As this is on the back foot, du Plessis to a shorter ball, and he just works it to cover. No run.
Mog says you'd like to think Ireland and Afghanistan and other smaller nations have heaps of tests lined up, but the ICC
But they
thinks they're shit.
The ICC doesn't schedule test matches.
Well, isn't it? Ireland had
Ireland pulled out of a game with
The ICC hardly does anything.
That was a bit of a nerve from the Irish CEO, who pulled out of a test match that was scheduled. Was it Bangladesh or Afghanistan? I don't
Yeah,
remember.
Sri Lanka, I think.
Oh yeah, Curran bowls and du Plessis defends, and he said, yeah, well, it wasn't part of the World Test Championship, so it was lacking a bit in context. When he was interviewed on Guerrilla Cricket, he said they asked not to be part of the World Test Championship.
Yeah.
So they've said, don't put us in the World Test Championship, and now he's pulling out of games saying, well, it's lacking a bit of context.
Well, I heard
that's a bit
Sri Lanka.
naff.
Well, the original reason was given is they didn't have a broadcast partner, did they?
Well, we'd have done it.
Yeah, I mean, this was in. They were supposed to go to Sri Lanka, weren't they? Playing a test match out
We'd
there.
have still done it.
Yeah, I know we would. Someone would have paid us to go out to
Probably
Sri Lanka.
not paying all. We're probably not giving them enough money to pay all the bills for that.
Ridiculous. Yeah, but to blame it on being not part of the World Test Championship when you've asked not to be part of it.
Well, it's standard, isn't it? Hope people forget what you said 2 months ago.
Curran bowls full, and du Plessis check drives up to mid-off, where Broadfield's the end of the over. 41 for 2. We're going to have a change. People, come in.
Yeah, well, we could do. Oh,
We got one. We've got David.
I need to go and visit my little boys' room. Someone can replace me.
Who else is coming in?
Rog.
We've got
Come and sit here,
Rog.
Rog.
Oh, looking very dapper.
Christmas jumper.
Christmas moustache. Is Hendo coming in?
Hendo's still doing some statistical analysis.
Oh,
and
good.
Will be
Yep,
with us
yep.
shortly. Brooker 2 taking over for a while. Got Roger coming in all the way from Belfast. Just landed at Gatwick Airport. Big effort, Roger.
Well, good morning to you and to you, Andy.
And morning, Andy.
Lovely to see you.
Season's greetings.
And what a pleasure it is to be bringing this test match to you. It's a lovely day in Sydenham. 41 for 2 as Jofra Archer bowls, and that's a defensive shot from Hamza, and there's no run. 41 for 2. What have you made of this crucial first hour, Andy?
Didn't see all of it. I didn't see the first wicket because I was off getting after Tesco's to get some food.
Priorities.
Priorities, exactly. But yeah, England should be happy. Although Hamza's looking pretty solid. Duplessis is old and wise enough to tough it out for a bit, and it's an interesting contest. 41 for 2.
And it's Jofra Archer who bowled second change today. Gets a lot of lift from that outside the off stump, but Hamza leaves it alone. Yeah, having seen the crucial first hour, I'd say that England haven't bowled that well. 2 batsmen really got themselves out. That very first ball from Jimmy Anderson tickled down the leg side by Dean Elgar, and then Markham had been chancing his arm. Was the next one to go, but he'd looked a bit iffy all the way through, was giving the bowlers plenty of opportunities. Here's Archer again. He's 0 for 7. He bowls, and that's cut
Shot.
away by Hamza. That's a very, very nice shot off the back foot through the covers for 4.
That went like a tracer bullet.
It certainly did. And, Knackle tweeted us earlier to remind us of Hamza's first-class record, which is very impressive. High score of 202 not out. No youngster. He's earned his spurs in the first-class game, which I understand is still a reasonable standard in South Africa.
Des, greetings from the beach in Mauritius. We'll be making alcohol-influenced GPL entries throughout the match. Good to hear.
Archer again. This one is well judged by Hamza because it was straight, but it bounced over the stumps, and it's a good leave, as they say. Archer, he was delayed into the attack to just his third over. He's 0 for 11, got a few points to prove after the New Zealand series. Sam Curran, of course, got the second wicket of Markram, who was caught Bairstow. Well, Curran Bairstow not keeping, but where was he fielding at the time?
Mid-wicket.
Shortish mid-wicket, yes.
Mid-wicket.
Just on that New Zealand series, hats off to everyone who came in here and kept the flag flying through the middle of the night for that series.
Absolutely right. Yeah, it was a great effort. Archer bowls that one. Again, good bounce from Archer. It's well left. And of course, we did Roger and I did the India West Indies series, the one-day internationals. We did three ODIs, and which was very popular with our friends on Crick Tracker in India. We're getting huge listenership figures out in India, and we welcome all the people who are watching us on
plenty
Crick
of you
Tracker
joined us today. India not in action today, so why not join us? Although if you can hear me saying this, you already have.
And Archer again. Oh, that's a good ball. It beats Hamza outside the off stump. Archer getting some good pace and bounce here. End of a good over from Archer, but Hamza remains on 22, Duplessis on 2, and South Africa 45 for 2.
Yeah, Hamza looked a bit unsure what to do with that one. I think he was going to leave. It was one of those situations where he was going to leave it, then he decided he had to play it, and then got into a really no kind of position. Encouragement for Archer.
Yeah, there's a bit of pace and bounce in this pitch. Archer getting good carry. I think he'd enjoy a bit of zip in the surface. Probably why Root was encouraged to insert. And there's a couple of really soft dismissals, giving England a real boost. Like you said, David, they hadn't bowled terribly well. I think Anderson and Broad weren't at their best. There could be reasons for that. Broad has been laid low with this flu that's infected most of the England squad, and Anderson, of course, coming back after a long layoff himself.
Curran bowls to Duplessis, who's not in any hurry. As you say, Roger, he's prepared to tough this one out. And but Jofra Archer will take some encouragement from that over. Yeah, it was a strange retro feel to seeing Jimmy and Broady bowling together. We haven't seen it for a while, and it almost was like in a time capsule. With Jofra waiting to come on, and he wasn't even first change, second change, and he's generating the sort of pace that you'd like to see from, dare I say it, the opening bowlers.
Well, you're not going to get that pace from Anderson and Broad these days.
Indeed, yeah. Without sounding like that's covered up by Duplessis and there's no run, without sounding like Michael Vaughan, perish the thought on a bad day.
Perish the thought, indeed.
He was made that point that, seeing Anderson and Broad in the same team now might be a luxury, as they both, less, not as, perhaps as lively and full of pace as they were. But,
well, given that they've gone in with 5 seamers, I think they're almost obliged to play both of them. If they have a more balanced attack, maybe it's one of them that misses out.
Here's Curran and Duplessis with a very straight bat, but it goes out towards cover. So Curran providing that variation. Some would say he's lucky to be playing today, but he does provide that variation, and he always makes things happen, doesn't he? He's 1 for 6 today, and he's in his 4th over. So yet again, Sam Curran proving to be a useful wicket taker. But yeah, you've got Jofra, obviously slight point to prove after the New Zealand tour, but if you go back to the summer, who would have thought that Jofra Archer would be second change already in the England team? Because after his performances against Australia this summer, as that's Duplessis playing that defensively out into the offside. Do you know what I mean? We sort of feel, with that when there was a change and suddenly we moved on from Harmiston and Hoggart. We got used to Harmiston and Hoggart opening the bowling for England. Then suddenly it changed and it was Broad and Anderson.
Well, that day's coming,
Yeah.
before too long. I don't know how many more series Anderson's got in him. So that day is coming.
Here's Curran bowling again, and Duplessis covers up. Very solid defence from Faf Duplessis, who's got some work to do today as captain because there's 2 early wickets. Dean Elgar must be cursing himself. Very first ball, there was a delayed start, very freakish late start to the game with one of the stewards who was hurt in some
It was
way.
a photographer.
A
I think,
photographer, was it? Yeah.
South African newspaper photographer.
Yeah, it was hurt before a ball was bowled, and there was a delayed start. So Elgar was kept waiting to receive the first ball. And the very first ball, he sort of little tickle down the leg side, and he was out. Platinum duck. Here's Curran again, and that's left outside the off stump by Duplessis. So maiden over, 45 for 2 off 16.
We're talking about aesthetic players. Evil Scooter says, surely Gower's still young enough to play 20 more tests on an aesthetic basis. And he's free because he's not doing the commentary anymore. Evil Scootus also says, in regard to Ireland, Afghanistan, also they're getting next to no money to build their infrastructure. Here's another one. Colin Rosenthal is joining us from Schiphol Airport on the way to Glasgow to visit his mum. He apologises for the amount of obscenity on election night, which was another bit of extra coverage we did, wasn't it?
Oh yes, the election.
So South Africa 45 for 2. Oh, the band's going full swing out there.
Indeed.
South African band looks a bit more impressive than the usual England bands you see.
Excellent. Yeah, we got a bass drum.
Oh, well, mind you, maybe it
drum.
might be a bit of a flash mob actually. Looking at them, might
I
be a
think
bit of
that
advertising
the
going on there.
sponsorship, yeah. And then the barmaids are giving it back to them, like.
Yeah, except they're all like fat blokes scratching their ear instead of actually a band.
Jofra Archer again to this is
Shot.
well pitched up. That's played beautifully by Hansa. It was textbook cover drive through extra cover to the boundary.
So what have you been
Favourite
up to, Rog? It's been a while since we've seen you.
Yeah, well, I went to New Zealand for the first test.
Okay.
And some of those barmaid chaps that I got to know, they maybe do get a bad rap. I think once you get among them, they can be rather amusing. And they are very committed. I heard one of them. I did just get a touch of our rival Talksport 2 this morning.
Archer again, it's pitched up, and again it's driven beautifully. This time he holds the position, Hamza. That's 2 successive boundaries. This one down to the long off boundary. Another lovely shot from Hansa.
And they sent a man up into the. Well, this was about 20 minutes before. This was before we'd gone on, so of course it wasn't. But they sent a man up to interview, and there's a guy there you might have seen. He's wearing a sort of bucket hat and a blue England shirt.
Right.
Kent Matt is his name, Matt Goss, and he spoke very well on the radio, just saying how. And he's a fun bloke actually. He's a life and soul. Good friends with Joe Denley, and he's a really committed supporter. And he comes up with a lot of nonsense.
Archer this time pulls the length back a bit, but Hans is still able to tuck it away down to long leg for a single. Just to interject some figures from Zabia Hansa and Zubaya Hansa, I should say. He's 24 years old. Obviously only in his 3rd test match, but he's played an awful lot of first-class cricket. Now, Andy, you have to be a good player to play 60 matches and average over 50. He averages over 50 with 11 centuries and a high score of 202 not out in first-class cricket.
Has certainly earned his chance. How old
Where
is
has he been? 24, yeah. Where has
Yeah.
he been, you might say? With that sort of first-class record. Next ball's played out defensively.
Well, a lot of changes in South Africa, of course. They've now got Smith, Boucher and Callis as a think tank now.
That's huge, as they say, isn't it? That's
Certainly gone for people with playing pedigree.
And there's been some senior batsmen to replace it, but Amla and De Villiers are the big names that
yeah.
have departed the scene, and then maybe Hamza could be seen as the successor to those roles.
Yeah,
So the
where,
number
you know, wonder why he's taken so long to break
Oh.
through. And this one climbs on Du Plessis, and well, he wasn't in control of that. He got extra bounce from Archer, but it's gone down to the third man boundary. It's evaded the third slip, and goes down for 4. I'd say that was a moral victory for the bowler there.
Oh, certainly.
It was certainly a forced error, as
Yeah.
it were. So
Hurried
climbed
on,
on
didn't it?
Plessis,
Yeah.
tried to get on top of it, was able to, and it was Ben Stokes' second slip who dived to his right, but it evaded him. A third slip might have been handy there, potentially. That's one of the perhaps things delaying the arrival of Archer. This next ball is driven by Du Plessis, who takes his hand off the top hand off, or bottom hand off the bat, one of his hands anyway. They go through for single, and it's Dom Sibley does the fielding. So, well, Archer still takes some encouragement from that. 9 off the over, but he still takes some encouragement. South Africa 59 for 2, and hands are going well.
We saw a bit of split screen there of the 3 faster bowlers, Anderson, Broad and Archer, and I'm not an expert on anything, but especially not on bowling mechanics. Nonetheless, we saw they're all right arm bowlers, so we saw their left foot, their foot that's planting on, Anderson and Broad both planting their left foot out towards sort of second, third slip, whereas Archer is coming more straight over his left foot at the batsman, and I wonder if that's a reason why Archer gets more pace.
And that's now through the gap by Du Plessis. They're going to take 1, and coming back for a second. This is off Sam Curran's new over. 2 runs to Du Plessis just behind point.
And B, I just wonder if that's an effect of, bowling fast for 15 years and putting all those overs in, and maybe it's harder to get that angle exactly right, and maybe they're protecting their ankle a bit more these days, Broad and Anderson. You could hardly blame them.
No, indeed. Joe Root crouching at first slip, something to think about here. Curran bowls, and back of a length, and Du Plessis covers up. He's on 9. Hamza's moved on to 31, and South Africa, after that loss of the 2 wickets, are consolidating here at 61 for 2. England having won the toss and chosen to field today. What do you think about that decision, chaps?
I suppose when they were picking 5 seamers, they had to go with that approach. I don't know if not sure if Leach was just too ill to play.
He
or-
was, can't be indisposed. Here's Curran again. That's well directed, but it's turned away to mid-wicket by Du Plessis, and there's no run.
But obviously, like we say, there's a bit of pace in these pitches. And there's a bit of little tinge of green, bit of zip. Although Du Plessis said that he would have batted, and South Africa have a great record of this tracking. They've won 19 out of 24.
They've only lost 2, and one of those was the Hansi Cronje
course,
test.
yeah.
Yep.
So I never like to see a team go in without a spinner. I'm sure most of us would. We'd like to see a bit more balance.
That's angled across by Curran. Du Plessis doesn't have anything to do with that, but again, a bit of bounce for Curran. So you think it was bowling strength that encouraged England to bowl first, rather than, dare I say it, batting weakness, or any sense of frailty in the top order?
And maybe look to expose some of the weakness in this supposed weakness in the South African order. I think it's always what do they say? 9 times out of 10 you bat, the other time you think about it and then bat. I've been one for those maxims.
Curran, and that's well directed, covered up nicely by Du Plessis, looking very solid. He's not in any hurry at all, and no need to be at this stage.
I think you were talking earlier on about players being ill, David, and whether they should tough through it. You might not be surprised to say I'm going to take issue with you there.
A lot of people have.
First of all, a couple of examples you gave, but collectively, Dean Jones and Graham Thorpe.
Yes.
That was finishing games that they started.
Indeed.
It wasn't. I think here comes Curran. Yep.
Right, that's wide. It's right. It's not a wide, but it's angled across. It's almost a wide, and Butler takes it in front of first let. And Andy.
Yeah, the old school approach is, you should be busting a gut to play, and even if you're not fit, you should. Whereas
I'm old school.
Yeah. The more the new school, and I think more responsible thing to do is, if you're not really fit, you should be honest about it and let your selectors make a decision as to whether you should play 80% fit or someone else 100% fit.
So, but do we know what's wrong with any of these guys? There's a bug
Well, we
in
don't.
the camp.
We don't as well. We don't know either.
Is it a
so-
head cold? Is it?
Well, a couple of them. There was some talk that Archer was suffering from this, and he might not play. But
The news was that Broads was bedbound for 6 days with this heavy flu. Just couldn't get out of, was completely lacking in energy. So for him to come out of that is pretty.
so we don't know.
Yeah.
It's interestingly, it's going to be a bowler returning rather than the fifth seamer.
Well, I suppose Archer was hit for 2 fours in the last
3
over, but
fours,
he
I
looked,
think. Yeah.
he looked
One was
dangerous.
an edge. One was an edge. Yeah. It was happening. He was getting
Yeah.
the edge, but also Hamza was picking off a couple
It's
of
the
balls
return
very
of this
nicely.
man. Jimmy to Jimmy Anderson. First ball's down the leg side, a bit like his first ball in the actual match, which got a wicket. But this time, Hansu did look to flick it down the leg side, doesn't get a touch on it. Unlike Dean Elgar, and we're just seeing that ball on replay now on cue. It was, there we go, innocuous ball down the leg side. Jimmy Anderson's return to Test cricket, a wicket with his very first ball in his comeback. Shades of Ian Botham
Botham-esque,
bowling.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
that return of Ian Botham against New Zealand, where he bowled a bit of filth and got a wicket
so
with his first ball.
out of condition.
Yeah, he was. Jimmy looks in top condition, and he bowls that. That's well pitched up, and it's played defensively by Hans, who holds the pose. He's a much classical
looks a good
batsman,
player.
isn't he? Does look a good player. Where has South Africa been hiding him with such a good first-class record? I think it's obviously a sign of strength in the South African top order that he hasn't been able to get into the team. But given their recent record against India, and certainly away from home, they've proved to be not such a strong unit. Anderson coming in now to in his second spell, he bowls, and that's angled in to Hanzo, plays it down defensively, and there's no run. 134 kilometres per hour for Jimmy.
That's about as much as you're going to get out of him in terms of pace, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's not all about pace.
No, but Jofra was working up some pace there, and were you surprised to see him pulled out of the attack, Andy, or do you think?
Not particularly. As I say, after those 2 or 3 fours,
Yeah.
England had been keeping. I mean, they were 45 off 15. They've been keeping it to 3 and over. It's ticked up a little bit, and they just want to try and exert some pressure here.
Here's Jimmy again, and that's flicked away nicely by wristily by Hansa, who keeps the scoreboard ticking over. He scores his runs at a decent clip. That's gone down to long leg for a single. He moves on to 32, and the South Africa score to 62 for 2.
Well, Mahesh Kumar Siwa will be pleased because he said, "Would you please tell us the score?" We just did. And Raju Black also says hello on Crick Tracker. Nakul says South Africa have only not won 5 out of 24 tests at Centurion. 3 of those were against England. And England actually have a pretty good record in South Africa. They haven't lost a series in 20 years, although that is only 3 series.
And Anderson bowls. That was the one that comes in, but it's covered up.
Don't kick
Duplessis.
the ball. Oh.
Yeah,
I mean, if
Anderson.
I was making my debut for England, I probably wouldn't shout at Jimmy Anderson not to kick the ball, but I still think you shouldn't do it.
We got the debutant next in for South Africa. Sorry, Andy, please continue.
No, that was all I was going to say. Yeah.
The debutant, one of the 2 debutants in to come. One of them coming in next. That's Van der Dusen.
Although we did see both of them in the World Cup in the
Yes.
white ball team.
Pretorius is the other debutant, and in between them you have the wicketkeeper De Kock. So plenty of batting, and indeed Philander no mug with the bat at 8. That's outside the off stump from Anderson. Swings away, end of that over from Jimmy. It's 62 for 2 South Africa, having been inserted by England this morning. Hansa's on 32, Duplessis is on 9.
Old fart at play. Of course, Broad stayed in bed for 6 days. He doesn't walk at the best of times. But
Very good, very good.
I was going to say something else. There's the GPL still. No, GPL's probably closed by now, isn't it? Or does it open for the first session?
Jimmy Anderson, 150 test appearances. He got presented with a special cap earlier today, or special something. Only 1 Englishman is above him. Test appearances, Alistair Cook, 161.
Do you think Anderson's going to get 12 more? I can't really see it.
Well, we'll see. Chander Paul, 164 for West Indies, but it's 2 Australians in numbers 3 and 2, Ponting and Moore. But Sachin Tendulkar with 200 test matches. suspiciously called to a halt after 200. We waited a long time for his last century.
Suspiciously not called to a halt after about 185.
Yeah,
some people
exactly.
would say.
Yeah, we waited and waited for that last century, didn't we? The hundreds.
Oh, that was.
Yeah, it just went on and on. It was almost it undermined some of Tendulkar's achievements to see him.
I think it
at
did.
the end. Yeah,
I think it did. And the way they cancelled a test match just so the 200th could be at home. They cancelled a test match in
exactly.
South Africa.
Yeah,
I
it
think
was all a bit
shenanigans.
bit too much, wasn't it? His Stuart Broad back into the attack, and that is played as an on drive by Hansa. But this time Jimmy does get to it. There was one in the first over where he dived over it. First over from Broad, I should say, but this time he does palm it to mid-on and saves what would have been another boundary.
Looked like a little bit of a no ball as well.
Yeah, huge no ball. Thing about saying about Broad and his illness, you notice, I don't know if you've mentioned it in the first hour of commentary, but he has like a sort of damp patch on his, probably a load of Vicks.
Like the footballers do.
Have you noticed on his shirt? Which was just below this.
Doesn't look so attractive on a white cricket shirt.
Yeah.
So it's Broad under weather, Stuart Broad. That one's pitched up, swings away. And Broad looking a bit pale in the face,
peaky,
doesn't he?
yeah.
Looking peaky, yes. Yes, peaky. Not peaky blinder, but just peaky. He's 0 for 11, he's in his 5th over. South Africa are 62 for 2. Hello to you wherever you are in the world. Let us know where you're listening to us from. Where are you spending the festive season? Yo ho ho. Rog, did you have a good festive
I did,
day?
thank you. Yes, very much. With my sister in Belfast, her 2 little boys, 8 and 5.
Oh, wonderful. Here's Stuart Broad. And that one, that's a decent ball. It leaves Hansa outside the off stump. And just did enough. Hansa played at that one. And goes through to the keeper. So Broad will be encouraged by that. But he's not, yes, he's looking very sickly, isn't he? He's got that damp patch, well spotted, Rog. And, but he's also, just snivelling a bit. And he's looking very, very pale. I mean, he's got the white sun cream. But, he's not looking at his...
For someone who's spent so much time playing cricket in the sun, he does look rather pale.
Yeah. He's looking like someone who spent a long time in bed. And that back foot, Hansa pushes that out. There's no run.
Knackle does tell us that the only game South Africa have lost at Centurion to anyone other than England was Australia in 2013-14, when Mitchell Johnson took 22 wickets in the series. And UD tells us our Jimmy Anderson jingle is a must-play at Indian weddings. Not the jingle, I think the song that it's based on.
We might have to hear that one again before the start of the next over, Rog, by popular demand. We've only had a brief snatch of that. Hansa waits for Stuart Broad, who bowls to him, and that beats him again outside the off stump. Hansa pulled the bat away, but very late. I think he did play at that. Would you say he played at that, Rog?
Yep, he's just hanging the bat out. Nice bit of bowling from Broad. It's back of length. There's been a fair bit of lateral movement. And with this good bounce as well.
Oh, he's definitely played at that one.
Yes.
Yeah, he's even followed it. Yeah.
So 2 that Hansa's followed in this over. So all but the edge. So Broad getting close to making a breakthrough here, and it would be a vital breakthrough because there's a partnership developing by South Africa here. And Stuart Broad, that one is full and driven straight to Archer, who's just fielding at cover point. End of a good over from the sickly Stuart Broad. South Africa 62 for 2.
Just you were asking about where's Hamza been, and of course that number 3 position was for so many years owned by Hashim Amla, and he played in the last time South Africa played home tests was that series. They lost 2-0 to Sri Lanka, and poor old Hashim had a bit of a rough time. He had a first bowler in the first innings of his last match, and then he 30 odd in the second innings. But in the first game, the famous Kusal Pereira game, he also got a 16 or a 3 and a 16. So poor old Hashim didn't go out in the best form, and it seems like the right time to replace him.
Yep, most people apart from Sachin don't get to choose when they go.
Jimmy Anderson again into to continue. Du Plessis plays that defensively. We're going to get another little burst of Jimmy. Let's have a little burst of Jimmy, Rod.
It's Debabrata Saha.
We did that feature during the ODI series, players who are known by their first name, and I think Jimmy more or less qualifies for that now. Nicely tucked away this next ball. This time it's Duplessis who does that, down to Curran at long leg. Yeah, we had a little competition on air where players who can be identified just by their first names.
Well, he's not got too much competition. Jimmy Neesham, maybe. Jimmy Adams. Not playing anymore, of course.
Jimmy Adams, the other one.
The other one,
Okay,
the one
yeah.
from Hampshire.
Yeah.
Is he still playing?
No.
No, he's
I think
joined
he
the
went into
coaching staff.
coaching,
hasn't he?
yeah. JHK Adams. Jimmy Binks, to complete your top 5 Jimmies.
Yorkshire keeper.
Yeah.
Jimmy Parks.
Oh, yeah. Was he a Jimmy?
Not really, no.
No.
Jim, just always a Jim.
Yeah.
Always a Jim. Anderson, who took that wicket with his very first ball, is looking for his second wicket. That one angles in to Hansa, who feels a lot more comfortable playing against the ball that swings in than the one that moves away. Because
Looks it, yes.
yeah, he's got that nice sort of what's it called? A nice base when he plays.
Yeah, we're.
You know what I'm
Fred,
trying to say.
Yeah, Fred was saying, or